In this video, we're going to take a look at strategies for, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, installing assets from video kits. So we got this question in relation to Angel Corman's awesome video branding kit, Volume 1. And many of you picked this up and notice that there's different themes. You got these different themed templates, and you have also the animations as well. And so one of to answer this question, let me just kind of go to an overarching principle that I think is really kind of common for most of us. And that is that we're typically trying to maximize the space on our local hard drive for video production. So in other words, we want to have assets that we use on a regular basis as close as we can get to them. But at the same time, we're balancing out trying to, maximize the hard drive space. I don't know about you, but I'm always fighting that. So I have the overall goal of maximizing my hard drive space, my local hard drive. And then, so what I really do myself, my strategy is the assets that are included in the included assets folder for Easy Video Lab are the ones that I use most frequently. And now I personally have not taken the time yet to go through them like that, but I actually plan to as I start to do less documentation for Easy Video Lab and actually just start doing more typical video production. I would naturally do that, and I recommend you do the same. Different people do different things. So for example, when I took a look at Angel's kit, when I first saw the news theme, and I was like, well, that's for sure a template pack or kit or group of templates that I would want probably on my local hard drive. This kind of matches a style that I would typically use. I could see myself using that a lot. I also thought that the Learn English theme was also something, it just doesn't have to be about learning English, of course. And this kind of matches the styles that I like, and the versatility of these templates is something that I could definitely, leverage quickly and make videos with. So I would probably include these in my local drive inside of the assets folder. We'll take a look at that in a second. And I would probably put the other ones on my external drive. And that kind of goes for some of the animation assets also. And again, I'll take a look at that in a second. So now another thing that I do is assets included on a local folder outside of the included assets. I might have a couple folders in like my documents folder or something like that. And those would be for categories that just don't fit inside of the included asset categories. We really had to, we couldn't just have everything. We might someday be able to give you the ability to name them. But for now, if I have something like overlays and transitions that doesn't really fit, there's not a category for that in the included assets, I might have those on my local hard drive, and I'd really just have those that I use on a frequent basis. And to be honest, I currently don't have a folder like that, but I've seen people who work that way. They want, they're using some, again, transitions or overlays or whatever it is on a frequent enough basis that they want it on their local drive. And so that's a strategy that I understand. And in that case, you'd be using, instead of using this first option, search included assets, you'd come down here to the second one, search local folders. And I just put, for example, a frames folder. This is from the kit, the video branding kit. And so if I leave that blank, I could search and I can actually find those. And so if I found that I was using this on a regular basis, I might have that folder in my documents folder called frames, so that I could pop over to that and grab it real quick. And so that's the general strategy. And then basically for me, and what I've seen a lot of y'all do, is all the assets that you don't use on a more infrequent basis, you might have those on an external drive. And I certainly find that that's how I work myself. So let's just come over to these folders. Now this is the folder for the included assets. And just to kind of remind you, we have a tutorial for that on our YouTube channel. Look for Easy Video Lab and how to install your Easy Video 2 Lab included assets. If you haven't done that already, then you want to go over there and do that. And this is the folders that you would have. And so if it's me, I would go through any of the video assets that I felt like I was going to use on a more frequent basis, and I would pop those or drag those over. Let's go over to these templates here. For example, now Angel's organize these in a way that it works for you. Could work for you, could not. It just kind of depends. Like if you felt like you were going to use these templates a lot, you might just go ahead and pop this whole folder into your documents folder. And then you could do that. Now you could actually also have these, like you can name these whatever you want and put them into the documents folder. Let me just get a little tip here. So in other words, say that I had this and I called it, the video branding kit templates or whatever. I could do that, and then I could drag that whole folder into the templates folder, and the search would actually go into those subfolders. So that's a strategy that you can employ also. So if you wanted to maintain this organization, which you might do if you were kind of like going, okay, well, I know where that is. You might be inside of Easy Video Lab, and you might not use the included assets search because you might just come up with too much results. And you might come down to the local assets and then basically do a search here for the subfolders inside of the templates folder. In other words, if I had this folder dragged into my templates folder, I would drill into my, go to my documents folder, find my, I have these listed under Easy Video Lab assets or EV Lab 2 assets here. I would drill into that, I would drill into templates, and then I drill into the other one. And if I was just trying to look for just the, I don't know, info bars or whatever, you could work that way. That is one strategy that you can employ. But for me, what I would usually do, and what I normally do, is I come into this and I basically kind of find whatever assets I'm going to use on a regular basis and put them into my local included assets folders, and then leave everything else that I use less frequently on my my external drive. But mine is a Wi-Fi drive, so it's a little slow. So really, when I'm going to work on something, then I would typically drag whatever folder. So what I typically do is I come into one of these kits here, and when I'm wanting to use it, I'll copy that kit over to my local drive. Use this is just how I work. Use the other option here, the search local folders, to find assets and everything, and work with them. And then when I'm done with that project, move it back to my Wi-Fi drive. That's how I personally work. If you've got plenty of hard drive space, you can work differently. But in general, that's the approach, mainly because coming back here to this is I'm finding that most people are kind of balancing this whole idea of trying to maximize their local hard drive space. And so employing this sort of strategy tends to work for most video creators that I've ran into. So really, it's just a matter of what works for you. So if you want to, I'm going to put air quote, install them, you just want to include the assets that are and drag them into the folders that make sense for you. Now, on that, let's go back to this. Note that if you're working with MP4 videos, then you can just have the MP4. If you're working with templates, you have to make sure, let's go to the templates folder here. You have to make sure that you include both an MP4 and the .ktz. They need to be named the same. So you should be having 2 files per template, one a .mp4 and one a .ktz. The same goes for if you're working with lower thirds or MOV files, that is. So MOVs need to have a paired WebM file. Now, the nice thing is Easy Video Lab 2 actually automatically creates them. So if you don't have WebM files, you don't have to worry about it. But in general, if you already do, you just copy both of them over. And then the WebM files are used for previewing MOV files, because MOV files are converted on the fly to PNG sequences. And so there's that. You just have to be aware of that. Otherwise, the rest of the formats tend to be just that, for example, graphics, any PNG or SVG files they don't have paired files with them. And same thing with sound effects and music and so forth. Really, it's just templates and MOV files that have kind of paired previews that you need to make sure are with them when you import, particularly for templates. If you copy only a .ktz file into the templates folder, you're not going to have a preview. So that pretty much covers it for installing assets inside of Easy Video Lab 2.